Welcome back to the Collective Shift channel. Today we'll be discussing our latest airdrops update with Head of Research, Matt. Our airdrop page is available on the Collective Shift website and is viewed to all the public to check out and gauge the latest airdrops. This is an example of content we provide our members at Collective Shift, who will get the chance to have a look at each analyst's individual airdrop recommendations. Are you happy to kick it off, Matt, with some of the newest additions to the page?
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. It's always a fun time at Collective Shift when we go through and update the airdrops page. So for anyone unaware, just at collectiveshift.io/airdrops is a page that I like because it's very informative and educational about A, what airdrops are, and B, what the risks associated with it are. But then I like it then because we're able to list our sort of favorite ones and the ones that our analysts here at Collective Shift are sort of monitoring. We give them a sort of a star rating, and then we also highlight the newest additions in green. So as you can see up there, updated February 24, and then our next one is due on July 28th. So yeah, just go through some of the names as you can see here. Scroll, Layer Zero, Aztec, and even just going down into the next category. Got Eigenlayer was a new addition for this most recent update. We got Lens, Fractal, Bundler, and DeFi Llama. So yeah, it's a bit slow moving, the airdrop space in a bear market, but still, as you can see, we've still had quite a few that we've added to our list.
So maybe jump into the one particular airdrop that you're watching and keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I didn't mention, which I deliberately didn't show on the scrolling on my website just then, is we do have a section that is only visible to members at the very bottom of the page. And that's where our analysts sort of update their top 4 action items. So, what airdrops are they pursuing and what are the, sort of associated action items for those airdrops. I will share one here with you for those of you watching now. My one that I've got there that I'm pursuing for the short term is Blur. So the Blur protocol, it's an NFT aggregator as well as its own marketplace. As many would know, season 1 of their Blur airdrop just finished in February, and people got quite a surprisingly high airdrop. And so you've seen many people really alter their behavior and start to almost quote unquote farm this Blur airdrop for season 2. So I did actually have it a bit lower on my list of priorities in terms of airdrop actions, but I still wanted to share it here today because it kind of highlights risks that we do talk about later in the airdrops page. Really sort of outlines, hey, airdrops can be risky in the sense they can be gamified. It's not so much a risk per se, it's more of a consideration where all of these people will flock to a protocol or an app to kind of pretend to use their app, and then they will sort of be eligible for a large amount of airdrops, but really once the airdrop comes, they'll just sell it and then move on to the next project. So that's something I wanted to highlight here, as why I think season 2 isn't as high up on my priority list, but because I believe Blur, the protocol, will be here for many years, hopefully even decades to come, I do think value will ultimately accrue long-term to the Blur token. So that's why I do believe it is one that's still worth pursuing in terms of receiving an airdrop, even though it will be a lot more crowded of, sort of a task or an endeavor that a lot of people are going after.
Do you know when season 2 will be kicking off? Is there any dates when sort of to expect that airdrop?
Yeah, I believe it has already kicked off, and at the very start opening weeks, including right now, they do have double. They're doing sort of a promotion where your score is doubled, or any points that you would get is doubled for a certain amount of weeks. So yeah, it could be a good time if you are already buying and selling NFTs anyway, such as myself. I'm now doing all of that on Blur just to ensure I do receive an airdrop.
Yeah, interesting space. I know for me, the one that I'm probably looking at is, of course, we got Arbitrum, which is probably the most widely or worst kept secret in terms of crypto, their token, which we're seeing, Arbitrum saw record transactions, which in a way is probably a lot of airdrop farming, a lot of people trying to get this airdrop. Maybe one that's spoken less is StarkNet, and then another one that is probably not even mentioned at all is Celestia, which this is the one that's probably not really talked about in the likes of Arbitrum, but Celestia is sort of a different take on a blockchain, which isn't like Ethereum, but it sort of solves a need in the market that currently I think Ethereum is really struggling with, which is basically just keeping all the data that's out there forever, so we always have access to it. So I think Celestia are running testnets. They're going to be running, I think, an incentivized testnet soon, and we should sort of expect a Celestia token, which has already been announced by the team as going to take place. So I think we can expect anyone running a sort of a node or supporting the Celestia ecosystem to potentially receive an airdrop. So one to watch.
Yeah, nice one there, Nick. Yeah, Celestia, Arbitrum, big 2023, and for them, and yeah, you can tell even for the rest of years to come, those will be names that I would be shocked if they just disappear. So yeah, it's speaking of disappearing, it's probably a good time to get into sort of the airdrop risks. So I'll get it up on my screen here, Nick. I think explain sort of why this is sort of a really something that a lot of airdrop people are interested in airdrops should know about.
Yeah, this is just a massive one to really consider when you're potentially, diving into airdrops, because we know that some of these cryptocurrency platforms, especially once you get down the ladder of smaller projects that don't have a token, you'll see advertised on Twitter, on YouTube, on Discord, and there's just a lot of risk that you may be signing a malicious transaction. It might be a token that isn't going to receive an airdrop, or sort of claims it is, maybe an influencer says it's going to be, and you sort of will give away the rights to your cryptocurrency just by clicking a MetaMask transaction. So really careful to just make sure that all your funds are off that airdrop wallet and making sure they're secured in cold storage. So if the worst does happen, that you are safe. Other ones just to consider are that rug pull risk, that time that it takes to farm the airdrops, which is it's more of a time consideration, which is a real cost, especially when you're doing a lot of transactions. You can't really get back that time. Is all those hours worth the tens of dollars you may make on a small airdrop?
Yeah.
And then other ones just to take into consideration is those legal and tax risks. Like when you get that airdrop, what are your obligations to that? In different countries, they may have different rules about airdrops and getting these new cryptocurrency tokens. So a lot to just watch out for, especially just make sure you take care of yourself and keep most of your bulk crypto in that cold storage and away from this airdrop wallet.
Yeah, no, very well said. I know even Arbitrum, very topical. I think a lot of scammers have really been, because they've taken so long and Arbitrum's been gaining a lot of traction, a lot of the scammers have really been circling and really making fake websites of Arbi token and fake announcements. They've had a field day, unfortunately, really trying to scam people, unfortunately successfully in some cases. So yeah, really, really important there, Nick, and definitely on collectiveshift.io/airdrops, that risks sort of section is paramount for you to for your viewers out there to read through.
Maybe we can finish it off then with one of the most topical questions in crypto, the OpenSea token. A lot of people speculate there may be one. It's taken them a while. What's your views here? Do you reckon that's actually a reality, or do you think it's not going to happen?
I would be shocked if OpenSea launches a token, Nick. This is like extremely topical. Will they sort of bounce back and be as a competitive sort of response to Blur, which has taken vast amounts of market share? People are speculating, hey, they might release a token now to win back some market share. But ultimately, I think I'd be extremely surprised if they do that. Sort of like three reasons. Number one is sort of their fundraising history. They've released, I think, up to Series C in terms of funding rounds. You typically only see crypto teams, crypto startups, tokenize when they've raised after seed funding or Series A funding. That it's a lot earlier in their sort of stage or life cycle as an entity, and therefore it makes it a lot easier to tokenize because you've just got less like stakeholders involved with like how do you organize an airdrop, or how do you organize a tokenize when you've got dozens of of investors, and your cap table is like extremely large, which would be the case with OpenSea now. Number two reason why I don't think is just because of the regulatory risk in the US. OpenSea, the entity behind that is domiciled in the US. I think it would just be pretty reckless to launch a token in these sort of hostile regulatory environments, since in this environment we're now in since the collapse of FTX. And the number three reason why OpenSea I don't think will release a token is also just it being a bear market. I think, to be honest, if they did tokenize, it would just be, I don't think the value would be like that significant. And therefore OpenSea, which is valued at, I think, 12 billion, I think just last year, I think that would, dramatically see their value as an entity fall. And I don't think they would like to, see the reflection of that in the public markets with their listing there on CoinGecko. So they're the three reasons why I don't think OpenSea will ever launch a token.
Awesome. I'm keen for that contrary opinion there. So lots to look out for. And I'm kind of with you that I'd be very shocked, especially in this regulatory environment. Maybe it might be a bullish thing if they do release a token that they're confident. As a US company, that's kind of putting a target on your back right there. So excited to maybe get into the Airdrops page in a few more months once we update it. I think that's all for now. So this post again is available on the Collective Shift platform and is an example of the type of content that we produce to help our valued members save time and make informed decisions. So if you're wanting to level up your crypto game, book in a free strategy call over at the Collective Shift website, which is collectiveshift.io. So until next time, thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Sick.